birdwell backwards.
Birdwell backwards.
Perhaps you're like me and smitten with the drama on public television, Downton Abbey. Well, today you're in for a treat. We're at the Pain Arts Center with Laura Pfizer, who's the curator. And Laura, you and I are going to show some fashions from evening wear during this Nancy's Corner segment.
Yes, and these are some of my favorite costumes from the television series Downton Abbey. They are opulent and beautiful and really exquisite specimens of design from the 1910s and 20s.
Speaking of opulent, we're going to start with Mary Crawley's dress that's sunburst with her pictured or featured with her maid Anna.
Yes, and that's an important aspect of the exhibition as well. Not only do we have the upstairs costumes, but the downstairs as well. And in the dressing room at the Pain, you see this beautiful evening gown worn in season 1 by Mary Crawley, one of the Crawley daughters. And it shows how fashion was so elegant pre-World War I. The high Edwardian fashion with the beading and the net overlay and the influence of Orientalism and exoticism. You see a sort of asymmetrical bodice and hemline, an exquisite starburst beading and fringe detail.
And then Anna, the maid, is even, in those days, these are authentic as for the period garments.
Yes, the Costume House Cosprop makes sure that they are supplying the costume designers of Downton Abbey with true to period pieces. So even the downstairs staff, you get a sense of how refined that is with her lace detail on the apron. And these staff members were so proud to work for an aristocratic family, and it was a position of honor.
Now we're going to see a Spanish influence of the dress worn by Mary Crawley again, and a panel and feeding, elegant.
It is such a beautiful dress. One of my absolute favorite that she wears at the dinner with the Turkish diplomats.
A little scandal there.
A little infamous dress, but it's a deep burgundy, and it was made by Cosprop from a vintage turn-of-the-century Spanish evening gown. And they added incredible silk chiffon for the pleating of the little flutter sleeves and the detail across the bodice, and then an incredible beaded gold lace overlay to make it super elegant.
We get to admire these fashions, and now you'll see the mother played Cora Crawley, and this has a panel down the front, and that was a vintage piece.
Yes. So when Cosprop is making costumes, sometimes for one character they need more than 40 evening dresses a season. And so for this dress for Cora, they found an original beaded floral panel that you see down the front of this gown. And they built a dress around that, staying true to the period. And they added these great hip details in that net overlay, and they're called panniers, and they were popular in the 17th and 18th century, and then resurfaced after World War I to add a little bit of flounce to the hip.
Something I wouldn't want to accentuate. But then there are debutantes, and the debutante ball, we have one vintage and one garment made for the episode.
Yes, these are worn at Rose's presentation, our debutante ball at the end of season 4, and they're dresses worn by Cora Crawley and then a friend of Lady Rose. And you can see the difference between the vintage and the non-vintage. So Cora's dress features an original crystal beaded bodice, which is just exquisite, and then you have a brand new dress made from documentation true to the period, brand new, but that's how they would have looked in the 1920s, another beaded flapper style dress.
And the gray dress had some patina aging, natural beautiful aging to it. And then finally we're going to look at the Dowager's evening gown.
Yes, the Dowager's evening gown, influenced by Japanese art, impeccable beading down the front panel with flowers and swirls, and shows how she still in the 1920s is true to the Edwardian period with the high collar and that defined waistline.
Sure.
Yes.
And the jewelry that accentuates the beautiful design is Just
Yes.
so superb.
And all of the jewelry is provided by Sophie Millard Jewelry of London, and they provide
That's really
jewelry
nice.
for
Nice.
Downton Abbey, so it accents the pieces beautiful.
So those of us who sew and quilt appreciate such great workmanship
Birdwell
and looking at these
backwards.
garments. We don't always get to see them as close up as you see now. And that's such a treat. Thank you, Laura.
Yes, thank you, Nancy.
If you'd like to rewatch the segment or any Sewing with Nancy segment online, go to nancyzeman.com and click on videos, and you can watch your favorite shows and join us for social media platforms as well. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.
Mary Mallory has written a fully
Birdwell backwards.
projects featuring